The Resolute dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Saturn's orbit. The massive planet filled the view screen, its golden rings spreading out like a crown. Titan Station hung in space near the largest moon, its lights twinkling against the darkness. It looked peaceful, almost beautiful. Jake stood on the bridge and studied the tactical display. 23 human ships had gathered in the area. Most were small frigates with light weapons. Against 300 Empire warships, it wasn't enough. Not even close. All ships reporting ready, Commander, Amy said. She had been coordinating communications for hours, making sure every captain knew the plan. Captain Kane confirms the Defiance is in position. Lisa worked at her engineering console, checking and rechecking every system on the Resolute. We're running hot, she said. Reactor at 105%. Weapons charged, shields at maximum. We're as ready as we'll ever be. Danny's hands flew across his sensor controls. His screens showed hundreds of data points tracking everything in the Saturn system. Commander, I'm picking up gravitational distortions. Multiple jump signatures. They're coming. Jake felt his heart rate increase. This was it. The moment everything changed. How many? 312 ships, Danny said, his voice steady despite the fear Jake knew he felt. They're not hiding their approach. They want us to see them coming. The Empire fleet appeared on the main view screen. Ship after ship materialized from faster-than-light travel, forming a massive wall of metal and weapons. They moved in perfect formation, each vessel knowing exactly where to go. It was impressive and terrifying at the same time. The Empire ships were different from human vessels. Where human ships had sharp angles and heavy armor, the Empire ships flowed with smooth curves and glowing energy shields. They looked advanced, elegant, and deadly. Each ship was easily twice the size of a human frigate. They're hailing us, Amy said. Audio only. Put it through, Jake ordered. A deep voice filled the bridge, speaking English with a strange accent. Human vessels. This is Fleet Commander Zarthok of the Galactic Empire. You are ordered to stand down immediately. Your presence here is illegal. Your colonies are illegal. Your expansion into our territory ends now. Jake picked up the communication device. This is Commander Jake Morrison of the Earthship Resolute. This system belongs to humanity. These are our people on that station. We will not stand down. There was a pause. Then Zarthok spoke again, and this time Jake could hear the contempt in his voice. You have 24 small ships and one large vessel. We have over 300 warships with weapons that have conquered galaxies. You cannot win this fight. Surrender now and we will spare your lives. We don't surrender, Jake said simply. You're welcome to try taking us. Another pause, longer this time. When Zarthok spoke again, his voice was cold. So be it. Your deaths will serve as an example to all humans. The Empire does not tolerate defiance. The transmission ended. On the tactical display, the Empire fleet began to move. They advanced slowly, confidently, like predators stalking prey. Their formation was perfect, with larger ships in the center and smaller vessels on the wings. They had done this 1,000 times before. They're heading straight for Titan Station, Danny reported. Weapons charging on multiple ships. They're going to destroy it. Jake looked at Lisa. Is everything ready? She nodded. The trap is set. All ships are in position. We just need them to commit. The plan was simple but risky. Titan Station appeared defenseless, guarded only by a few frigates. The Empire would see an easy target and attack. They would ignore the danger hiding in Saturn's rings, where the Resolute and the other human warships waited. When the Empire fleet moved close enough, the humans would strike from hiding. It was an old trick used in naval battles on Earth's oceans centuries ago. Ambush the enemy when they think they've already won. The Empire had ruled space for 1,000 years. They had never faced an enemy that used tactics like this. They fought with honor, meeting enemies head-on. Humanity had learned long ago that honor didn't matter if you were dead. They're approaching the station, Danny said. Range 500,000 kilometers, 400,000, 300,000. Jake watched the enemy fleet advance. They stayed in formation, maintaining their careful spacing. They were so confident, so certain of victory. That confidence would be their downfall. 200,000 kilometers, Danny continued. They're targeting the station. Weapons fully charged. They're going to fire. Not yet, Jake said quietly. Let them get closer. We need them fully committed. The bridge was silent except for the beeping of computers and Danny's countdown. Every crew member watched their displays, waiting for the order, waiting to spring the trap. 100,000 kilometers. 50,000. Commander, they're in optimal firing range. Jake took a deep breath. This was the moment. All ships, this is Morrison. Execute attack pattern Delta. I repeat, execute attack pattern Delta. Light them up. The Resolute's engines roared to life. The massive Dreadnought exploded from its hiding place in Saturn's rings, ice and rock flying in all directions. Behind it, 23 human frigates emerged like hunting sharks, their weapons already glowing with power. Lisa's hands moved across her console. Railguns online. Targeting solutions locked, firing. The Resolute shook as its main weapons fired. Massive metal slugs shot out at incredible speed, moving so fast they seemed to simply appear at their targets. The slugs hit 3 Empire cruisers before the aliens even knew they were under attack. The ship's shields flickered and died, overwhelmed by the kinetic energy. The slugs punched through their hulls like they were made of paper. The 3 Empire ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Metal and debris scattered in all directions. The perfect formation broke apart as ships scrambled to react to this sudden threat. Direct hits, Danny shouted. 3 enemy vessels destroyed. They're breaking formation. Amy transmitted a message on all frequencies, making sure every Empire ship heard humanity's response. You should have left us alone. The Empire fleet tried to turn and face this new threat, but they were too slow. The Resolute was already among them, its weapons firing continuously. Lisa had designed the railguns to fire every 3 seconds, and she had installed 8 of them. That meant a new volley every fraction of a second, each slug capable of destroying an enemy ship. The Empire ships fired back with their energy weapons, bright beams of concentrated power that had destroyed countless enemy fleets. The beams struck the Resolute's hull, and for a moment the bridge crew held their breath. Would the armor hold? The beams scattered across the Resolute's surface, the energy dissipating harmlessly. Lisa had designed the armor using layered graphene composites, a material that could absorb and redirect energy weapons. The Empire's most powerful weapons barely scratched the paint. Armor holding, Lisa reported, unable to keep the pride from her voice. Their weapons are ineffective. Hull integrity at 98%. Jake allowed himself a small smile. Target their command ships. Let's cut off the head of this fleet. The Resolute moved deeper into the Empire formation, its weapons never stopping. The human frigates followed, striking at the confused enemy ships. The Empire had numbers, but the humans had surprise, better weapons, and tactics the aliens had never encountered. Lieutenant Karen Price coordinated the fighter squadrons from her station. Small human fighters poured out of the Resolute's launch bays, each one piloted by veterans who had trained for years. The fighters moved in unpredictable patterns, darting between the larger ships, striking at weak points and then vanishing before the Empire could respond. Commander Victor Kane aboard the Defiance led the frigates in a coordinated assault, hitting the Empire's flanks while the Resolute drove through their center. It was chaos, but it was controlled chaos. The humans knew exactly what they were doing. Fleet Commander Zarthok's voice came over the communication channel, no longer cold and confident. Now it sounded confused, almost afraid. What manner of weapons are these? How are you penetrating our shields? This is impossible. Jake grabbed the communication device. This is humanity, Commander. We've been perfecting the art of war for thousands of years. You're about to get a demonstration of everything we've learned. The Resolute fired again, and 2 more Empire ships disappeared in explosions. The trap was working. The Empire fleet was in disarray, their perfect formation shattered, their confidence broken. They had come expecting an easy victory over primitives. Instead, they found warriors who fought with a ferocity and skill they couldn't match. The battle had just begun, and already the Empire was learning a hard lesson. Humanity might be new to space, but they were very, very good at fighting. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Resolute and looked at the stars through the massive window. The ship hummed with power beneath his feet. Everything felt different now. Everything had changed in just 3 days. The bridge was quiet except for the soft beeping of computers. His crew worked at their stations, checking systems and running diagnostics. Lisa Hayes sat at the engineering console, her fingers moving across the holographic display. She had built most of the systems on this ship. Without her, the Resolute would just be another warship. But with her designs, it was something the galaxy had never seen before. Jake walked to the center of the bridge and placed his hands on the railing. He was tired. The message from the Galactic Empire had arrived 72 hours ago, and nobody had slept much since then. The weight of what was coming pressed down on everyone aboard. Lieutenant Danny Harper turned from his station. His young face looked worried. Danny was barely 25 years old, fresh from the academy, but he was one of the best sensor operators in the fleet. He noticed things others missed. "Commander, the diplomatic ship is approaching Earth," Danny said. "They'll be in orbit within the hour." Jake nodded. Captain Nicole Grant was aboard that diplomatic vessel, returning from the meeting with the Empire's representatives. She had gone alone, hoping to find a peaceful solution. Jake had a bad feeling about what she would report. The Galactic Empire had been watching humanity for decades. Earth scientists had detected their observation posts scattered throughout the outer solar system. At first, humanity tried to make contact, sending peaceful messages and showing they meant no harm. The Empire never responded. They just watched and waited. Then humanity developed faster than light travel. Dr. Lisa Hayes and her team had cracked the problem that stumped scientists for generations. Within months, human ships began exploring nearby star systems. They found planets, resources, and evidence that other intelligent species existed, but they also found something else: Empire territory markers. The Empire finally made contact. Their message was simple and cold. Humanity was expanding into space that belonged to them. All human colonies must be abandoned. All human ships must return to Earth. Humanity would submit to Empire rule or face the consequences. Admiral Marcus Cole, Earth's highest-ranking military officer, had laughed when he first heard the demand. "They want us to just give up everything we've worked for? To bow down to aliens we've never even met face to face?" He had sent Captain Nicole Grant to negotiate, hoping reason would prevail. Jake checked the time. Nicole would dock soon and deliver the Empire's final answer. He already knew what it would be. Species like the Empire didn't make threats they weren't willing to back up. "All hands, this is the commander." Jake spoke into the ship-wide communication system. "Captain Grant is returning from her diplomatic mission. We'll know our situation shortly. Stay ready." Morrison out. Lisa stood up from her console and walked over to him. Her eyes showed the same exhaustion everyone felt. "The reactor is running at peak efficiency," she said quietly. "All weapon systems are online. The railguns are calibrated and ready. If they want to fight, we can give them one." Jake looked at her. Lisa had poured 5 years of her life into building the Resolute. She had designed weapon systems that could tear through armor plating like paper. She had created energy shields that could absorb incredible amounts of damage. She had built a ship that could take on anything humanity had ever created. But would it be enough against an empire that had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years? "How many ships do they have?" Jake asked, even though he already knew the answer. "Intelligence estimates thousands," Lisa replied. "Maybe tens of thousands. They control 12 different species across hundreds of worlds. We're just one planet, Jake, one species that barely made it to the stars." "But we made it," Jake said. "That counts for something." The communication console beeped. Amy Wells, the communications officer, pressed her earpiece and listened. Her face went pale. "Commander, Captain Grant is broadcasting on all frequencies. She wants everyone to hear this." "Put it through," Jake ordered. Nicole's voice filled the bridge, clear and strong despite the weight of her words. "This is Captain Nicole Grant to all Earth forces and colonies. I have returned from negotiations with the Galactic Empire. They have rejected all our proposals for peaceful coexistence. The Empire views humanity as a primitive species that poses a threat to their established order. They have given us one final choice: complete surrender or total war." The bridge fell silent. Every crew member stopped working and listened. Nicole continued.
"The Empire has dispatched Battle Fleet 77 to our outer colonies.
Intelligence reports 300 warships heading toward Titan Station. They intend to destroy our settlements and force our submission through overwhelming military power. The Empire believes we cannot stand against them. They believe we will surrender when we see their might." Jake felt his jaw tighten. 300 ships. The entire human fleet numbered less than 50 vessels, and most were exploration ships with minimal weapons. Only the Resolute and a handful of frigates were true warships. "Admiral Cole has authorized all military vessels to take defensive positions," Nicole said. "We will not surrender. We will not abandon our colonies. Humanity has faced extinction before and survived. We will survive this too. All ships are ordered to rally points. Earth Control will provide coordinates. Grant out." The transmission ended. The bridge remained quiet for a long moment. Then Lisa spoke. 300 ships. I know, Jake said. Danny turned from his console. Commander, we're receiving rally coordinates. We're ordered to Titan Station. Jake nodded slowly. Titan Station was humanity's largest mining outpost, home to 15,000 people. It orbited Saturn, surrounded by the planet's beautiful rings. It was also the perfect place for an ambush if someone was clever enough to plan one. Set course for Titan, Jake ordered. Maximum speed. Contact all nearby vessels and tell them to join us. We're going to make the Empire regret threatening our people. Lisa returned to her console. Charging the jump drive. We'll be in Saturn space in 6 hours. Jake watched as his crew prepared for combat. They moved with purpose and determination. They were scared, he could see it in their faces, but they didn't hesitate. Humanity had always been good at one thing: fighting back when cornered. The Resolute's engines powered up, creating a low vibration throughout the ship. Jake felt it through his boots. This ship was designed for war. Every system, every weapon, every piece of armor had one purpose: to fight and survive. Commander, Amy said from her station. We're receiving reports from other ships. The frigate groups are moving to intercept. Captain Victor Kane aboard the Defiance is coordinating fleet movements. Good, Jake said. Tell Victor we'll meet him at Titan. We're going to need every ship we can get. As the Resolute jumped to faster-than-light speed, Jake looked out at the stars one more time. Somewhere out there, 300 enemy ships were heading toward innocent people. The Empire thought humanity would run or surrender. They thought humans were just another primitive species to be conquered. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Humanity didn't surrender. Humanity fought. And when humans built weapons, they built them to win. The battle raged for 3 hours without stopping. The space around Saturn had become a graveyard of destroyed ships and scattered debris. Explosions lit up the darkness like angry stars being born and dying in seconds. Jake stood at his command position, watching the tactical display update constantly. Red icons representing Empire ships blinked and disappeared one by one. Blue icons showing human vessels moved in coordinated patterns, striking and retreating, always staying one step ahead of the enemy. The Resolute shook as another energy beam struck its hull. The ship's armor absorbed the impact, but Jake could feel the power behind each hit. The Empire weapons weren't useless, just less effective than they needed to be. If enough of them focused fire on one spot, they could break through. Shield generators at 70%, Lisa called out from her station. Sweat ran down her face as she worked to keep every system running at maximum capacity. Hull breach on Deck 7, Section 12. Sealing now. Railgun 3 is overheating. Taking it offline for 2 minutes. Compensate with guns 4 and 5, Jake ordered. Danny, where are their command ships? Danny's fingers flew across his controls. I'm tracking 3 possible command vessels. They're staying back from the main battle, protected by escort ships. Wait, I'm picking up new signals. They're calling for reinforcements. Jake felt a chill run through him. Reinforcements, of course they would call for help. The Empire had thousands of ships. They could afford to lose 300 and call for 300 more. Humanity had barely 50 vessels in total, and half of them were here. How long until reinforcements arrive? Jake asked. Unknown, Danny said. Could be hours. Could be days. Depends on where the nearest fleet is stationed. Then we end this fast, Jake said. Amy, tell all ships to focus fire on those command vessels. We take out their leadership, the rest might lose coordination. Amy transmitted the orders. On the tactical display, the human ships changed their attack patterns, driving toward the 3 suspected command ships. The Empire vessels moved to intercept, creating a defensive wall with their own ships. Lieutenant Karen Price watched her fighter squadrons on her display. Commander, pilots are reporting the Empire ships are adapting to our tactics. They're starting to predict our attack patterns. Tell them to go random, Jake said. No patterns at all. Pure chaos. Make it impossible to predict. Karen relayed the orders. The human fighters changed their approach, each pilot making individual decisions instead of following set formations. It was dangerous and looked completely unorganized, but it worked. The Empire ships couldn't predict movements that had no pattern. Commander Chris Murphy led his fighter wing straight through the gap between 2 Empire cruisers, his weapons firing continuously. Behind him, Lieutenant Laura Bennett and her squadron followed, each pilot choosing their own targets and attack angles. The Empire's defensive fire missed more than it hit, unable to track the chaotic movements. Aboard the Defiance, Captain Victor Kane watched the battle unfold. His frigate group had taken heavy losses. down to 15 ships from the original 23. But they had destroyed over 60 Empire vessels in return. The math was in humanity's favor, but numbers only mattered if you lived long enough to count them. Defiance to Resolute. Victor's voice came through the communication channel. We're running low on ammunition. Requesting permission to fall back and rearm. Jake checked his tactical display. The Defiance had been fighting non-stop, covering the Resolute's flanks and protecting the smaller human ships. Permission granted, Victor. Fall back to Titan Station. We'll cover you. The Resolute turned, placing itself between the retreating frigates and the Empire fleet. Its massive hull absorbed dozens of energy beams meant for the smaller ships. The armor held, but Jake could see the damage reports piling up on his display. They couldn't take this punishment forever. Commander, Gary Miller called from the tactical station. He had been running firing calculations for hours, barely taking time to breathe. I've got a solution on the primary command ship. It's a clear shot, but we need to get closer. A lot closer. Jake looked at the tactical display. The Empire command ship sat in the center of a protective formation, surrounded by heavy cruisers. Getting close enough for an accurate shot meant driving straight into their strongest defensive position. It was suicide. How close? Jake asked. 10,000 kilometers, Gary said. At that range, we can't miss. The railgun slug will penetrate before they can even adjust their shields. Lisa turned from her console. Jake, at that range, they can focus all their fire on us. The armor will hold for maybe 2 minutes. 3 if we're lucky. 2 minutes is enough, Jake said. He touched the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the commander. We're about to do something very dangerous and very stupid. Hold on to something. This is going to get rough. The Resolute's engines flared bright blue as Lisa pushed them beyond their normal limits. The massive Dreadnought accelerated, driving straight toward the heart of the Empire formation. Enemy ships scattered, unwilling to collide with the charging vessel. Energy beams converged on the Resolute from every direction. The ship shook violently as beam after beam struck home. Armor plating began to glow red from the heat. Alerts sounded throughout the bridge as systems started to overload. Hull temperature critical, Lisa shouted over the alarms. Shield generators failing. We've got fires on multiple decks. Keep going, Jake ordered. Gary, how long? 30 seconds to optimal range, Gary said, his hands steady on his controls despite the ship shaking around him. 20 seconds. 10 seconds. We're there. Fire everything, Jake commanded. All 8 railguns fired at once. The recoil pushed the Resolute backward despite its massive size. 8 metal slugs, each one moving at a fraction of the speed of light, crossed 10,000 kilometers in less than a second. They struck the Empire command ship's shields simultaneously. The shields held for exactly half a second before collapsing under the combined kinetic energy. The slugs continued through the ship's hull, punching clean through from one side to the other. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Empire command ship exploded from the inside out, torn apart by the massive damage. The explosion was enormous, an expanding ball of fire and debris that consumed the nearby escort ships. When the light faded, the command ship and 6 escorts were simply gone. Target destroyed, Danny reported, his voice filled with awe. Commander, the Empire fleet is breaking formation. They're retreating. Jake couldn't believe it. Confirm that. Confirmed, Danny said. They're withdrawing from the battle space. All remaining ships are heading away from Titan Station. On the main view screen, the Empire fleet turned and began to move away. Their perfect formations were gone, replaced by a scattered retreat. Ships that had arrived confident in their superiority were now fleeing from an enemy they didn't understand. Amy listened to the communication channels. Commander, I'm picking up Empire transmissions. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies. They sound scared. Play it, Jake said. The bridge filled with alien voices speaking in their own language, but the translation software worked quickly. The words chilled everyone who heard them. They're not fighting like any species we've known. They don't fight to disable, they fight to destroy completely. They're willing to die to take us with them. They fight without honor, without mercy. They are chaos itself, another voice joined in. Fleet Commander Zarthok is dead. Command ship destroyed. We cannot win this battle. We cannot even understand how we're losing. Request immediate withdrawal. We need reinforcements. We need everything. The transmissions continued, full of fear and confusion. The Empire had never retreated before. They had never needed to. For 1,000 years, they had conquered every species they encountered. Now, for the first time, they were running. Jake watched the enemy ships disappear into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind their dead and their destroyed vessels. The battle space fell quiet except for the emergency alert still sounding throughout the Resolute. "Damage report," Jake said quietly. Lisa read from her console, her voice tired. "Hull breaches on 12 decks. Shield generators at 20%. 3 railguns offline. We've got fires in the lower sections. Casualty reports coming in now. Medical Officer Helen Brooks reports 43 wounded, 7 dead. 7 dead. 7 people who woke up this morning expecting to survive the day." Jake felt the weight of those deaths settle on his shoulders. They had won the battle, but victory always had a cost. "What about the rest of the fleet?" Jake asked. Amy checked her communications. "Defiance is still operational. We're down to 11 frigates total. Titan Station is secure. No civilian casualties. They're sending rescue teams to recover our wounded." Jake nodded slowly. They had faced 312 Empire warships with 24 human vessels. They had destroyed or damaged over 200 enemy ships. They had protected Titan Station and sent the Empire fleet running. By any measure, it was an incredible victory, but Jake knew this was just the beginning. The Empire would be back, and next time they would bring more ships. Next time they would be ready for human tactics. Next time would be harder. "All ships, this is Morrison." Jake spoke into the communication system. "Well done. You've just won humanity's first victory in an interstellar war." The aftermath of the battle was harder than the fighting itself. Jake walked through the corridors of the Resolute, passing repair crews who worked around the clock to fix the damage. Holes in the hull were sealed with emergency patches. Burned sections of walls were being replaced. The smell of smoke and melted metal filled the air. Medical Officer Helen Brooks had converted 3 cargo bays into temporary hospital wards. The ship's regular medical bay couldn't handle all the wounded. Jake stopped by to check on his crew, moving between the beds where injured personnel rested. Some had burns from fires. Others had broken bones from being thrown against walls when the ship shook. All of them looked up when they saw their commander, and every single one tried to smile. "How are they doing?" Jake asked Helen quietly. She looked tired, with dark circles under her eyes. "We'll save most of them. The 7 we lost died instantly when a beam punched through the hull. They didn't suffer. The wounded will recover, given time." Jake nodded and continued his rounds, speaking quietly to each injured crew member. He learned long ago that soldiers needed to see their leaders after a battle. They needed to know their sacrifice mattered, that someone cared they had been hurt defending others. Back on the bridge, Lisa worked with her engineering teams through holographic displays, coordinating repairs across the entire ship. "We need at least 2 weeks for proper repairs," she told Jake when he returned. The armor held up better than expected, but the internal systems took a beating. "We can fight again now if we have to, but we won't last as long." Danny was at his sensor station monitoring space around Saturn. "Commander, I'm picking up a lot of activity. The Empire left behind damaged ships and escape pods. Some of their crew survived. Send rescue teams," Jake ordered. "Bring them aboard." Amy looked surprised. "Sir, they're enemy combatants. They were trying to kill us 3 hours ago, and now they're defeated and helpless," Jake said. "We're not monsters, Amy. We fought because we had to, but we don't leave wounded enemies to die in space. That's not who we are." The rescue operations took 4 hours. Human shuttles recovered 147 Empire survivors from disabled ships and escape pods. The aliens were brought aboard the Resolute and other human vessels, given medical care and placed in secure holding areas. Jake went to see them. The holding area on Deck 9 had been converted from a cargo bay, with force fields separating the prisoners from the guards. The Empire soldiers looked frightened, huddled in small groups. They were humanoid but clearly alien, with different skin colors and features that marked them as various species from across the Empire. One of them, a tall alien with blue skin and silver eyes, stood when Jake entered. His uniform marked him as an officer. "You are the human commander," he said in accented English. "I am Sub-Commander Talvin. I demand to know why we are being held prisoner instead of being executed." Jake studied him calmly. "Because we're not executioners. You fought, you lost, and now you're prisoners of war. You'll be treated according to the rules of warfare, fed, sheltered, and eventually returned to your people when this is over." Talvin looked confused. "You defeated us in battle. You have the right to kill us. That is how war works." "Maybe that's how the Empire fights wars," Jake said. "But humanity has rules. We don't kill prisoners. We don't torture captives. We fight hard, but we fight fair. Another prisoner spoke up, a smaller alien with green scales. You fight like demons. Without honor. Using tricks and deception, hiding in rings and striking from shadows. Jake smiled without humor. We fight to win. We use every advantage we have. The Empire sent 300 ships to destroy one of our settlements. You expected us to line up and let you kill us fairly? That's not how we do things. He turned to leave, then paused. Your fleet commander Zarthok called us primitives. Said we couldn't stand against the Empire. But here you are, prisoners on our ship. While your fleet ran away, maybe you should reconsider who the primitives really are. The prisoners had no answer to that. Jake left them to think about it. Lieutenant Karen Price came to the bridge with interesting news. Commander, we've been analyzing the captured Empire ships. The ones too damaged to run but still mostly intact. Our boarding teams have been going through them. What did they find? Jake asked. Their technology is advanced, but not as advanced as we thought, Karen said. Their shields are powerful against energy weapons because that's all anyone in the galaxy uses. But they've never faced kinetic weapons before. No railguns, no missiles, nothing physical. Their ships aren't designed to handle that kind of impact. Lisa joined the conversation, excited. We've been going through their computer systems. Stephen Clark and his tech team have been downloading everything. Their star charts, their communication codes, information about other species in the Empire. It's a treasure trove of intelligence. And their weapons? Jake asked. Energy-based, like we thought, Lisa said. Powerful but focused on penetrating energy shields. Against our layered armor, they're less effective. We can adapt our designs to handle them better. By the time they figure out how to hurt us, we'll already be 3 steps ahead. Sergeant Linda Ross reported success with the boarding operations. Her Marines had captured 5 Empire ships that were disabled but repairable. We can study them, Linda said. Figure out how they work. Maybe even use them against the Empire later. Paul Henderson, the science officer, was particularly excited about one discovery. Commander, their faster-than-light drives work on completely different principles than ours. If we can understand their technology and combine it with our own, we might be able to create ships that are faster than anything the Empire has. Jake listened to all the reports and felt a small spark of hope. Yes, the Empire had thousands of ships. Yes, they would be back. But humanity was learning, adapting. Every battle would teach them more. Every captured ship would give them new advantages. Captain Nicole Grant arrived on the Resolute 6 hours after the battle ended. Her diplomatic ship had been too far away to join the fight. She looked devastated when she saw the damage and learned about the casualties. I failed, she told Jake in his private office. I was supposed to find a peaceful solution. Instead, we're at war. You didn't fail, Jake said firmly. The Empire was never going to accept peace. They want subjects, not equals. This war was always coming. You gave them a chance to avoid it, and they refused. That's on them, not you. Nicole sat down heavily. 300 ships, Jake. We fought 300 ships with 24 vessels and won. That shouldn't be possible. We had advantages they didn't expect, Jake said. Surprise. Better weapons, tactics they'd never seen before. But mostly we had something they didn't. What's that? Motivation, Jake said. We were fighting to protect our people, our homes, our future. They were fighting because their empire told them to. That makes all the difference. The hours turned into days. The Resolute and the surviving human ships remained at Titan Station, conducting repairs and analyzing their captured prizes. Earth sent additional vessels to reinforce their position. Scientists and engineers arrived to study the Empire technology. Danny noticed something strange on the 4th day after the battle. Commander, I'm detecting unusual communication signals, not Empire frequencies. Something different. Multiple sources coming from different directions. What kind of signals? Jake asked. I'm not sure, Danny said. They're not aimed at us. It's like we're overhearing conversations. Wait, I'm getting a translation now. The computer is matching patterns to known languages. The bridge speakers crackled to life with alien voices, speaking dozens of different languages. The translation software worked overtime, converting the words to English. Did you hear what happened at Saturn? The humans defeated an entire Empire fleet. 300 ships destroyed or driven away by primitives who barely reached the stars. The Empire is saying it was a fluke. Bad luck, poor tactics. But I heard the survivors' reports. They sounded terrified. Maybe the Empire isn't as invincible as they claim. Maybe other species could resist them too. Amy listened to the signals with growing amazement. Commander, these are coming from all over the Empire. Different species, different worlds. Word is spreading about what we did. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. They hadn't just won a battle. They had sent a message to the entire galaxy. For 1,000 years, the Empire had been unstoppable. Now a newcomer species had bloodied them in their first real fight. How is the Empire responding? Jake asked. Danny adjusted his sensors. I'm picking up a lot of military traffic. Ship movements. Fleet repositioning. They're mobilizing, Commander. This isn't over. This was just the beginning. Lisa pulled up strategic displays showing Empire territory. It was vast, covering thousands of star systems. If they bring their full military might against us, we can't win. We just don't have enough ships. Then we need to make sure they can't bring their full might, Jake said. We need allies. Other species who are tired of Empire rule. Species who saw what we did and are wondering if they could do the same. Nicole stood up, understanding dawning on her face. You want to start a rebellion? Turn the Empire's own subjects against them. I want to give them hope, Jake said. Show them that the Empire can be beaten, that they don't have to bow down forever. 2 weeks after the Battle of Titan Station, the Resolute was still undergoing repairs when the call came through. Admiral Marcus Cole appeared on the main view screen, his weathered face showing the weight of command. Behind him, Jake could see Earth's military command center, filled with officers monitoring screens and coordinating the defense of humanity's scattered colonies. Commander Morrison, Marcus said without preamble, we need you back at Earth. The situation has changed. Jake felt his stomach tighten. What's happened? Everything, Marcus said. The battle at Titan has caused ripples throughout the Empire. We're receiving communications from species we didn't even know existed. Some want to talk. Others want to help. A few are offering to join our fight, but the Empire is responding too. They're gathering their forces. Intelligence suggests they're preparing something big. How big? Jake asked. Big enough that we need every ship, every weapon, and every idea we can get, Marcus said. Get the Resolute back here, Commander. We have work to do. The Resolute limped back to Earth, its hull still bearing the scars of battle. Lisa had done incredible work getting the ship operational again, but it would need months of proper repairs to return to full strength. The railguns worked, the armor held, and the engines could push them through space. That would have to be enough. As they approached Earth, Jake saw something that filled him with both hope and concern. Dozens of ships orbited the planet, far more than humanity had possessed before the battle. Some were new vessels rushed through construction. Others were older ships that had been pulled out of storage and retrofitted with modern weapons. Earth was preparing for war on a scale they had never imagined. Jake, Lisa, and Nicole were summoned to Earth Command headquarters for a strategic meeting. The large conference room was filled with military officers, government officials, and scientists. Everyone stood when Admiral Marcus entered, followed by a group of aliens who looked nervous and out of place. Please sit, Marcus said, taking his position at the head of the table. We have much to discuss and not much time. Commander Morrison, I want you to meet some people who traveled a long way to be here. One of the aliens stepped forward, a slender being with pale purple skin and large dark eyes. I am Ambassador Kirla of the Varan people. We were conquered by the Empire 300 years ago. Our fleet was destroyed. Our world was occupied. We have served the Empire ever since, forced to provide resources and soldiers for their endless expansion. Another alien spoke, this one covered in brown fur with distinctive markings. I am Representative Gordon of the Kelth Confederation. We resisted the Empire for 50 years before we were finally defeated. We have waited for someone, anyone, to show that the Empire could be beaten. You have given us that hope. Marcus gestured to the group. Representatives from 7 different species have made contact since the battle at Titan. They've been watching what happened. Some of them have been planning rebellions for years but never dared to act. Now they're ready to fight if we're willing to lead. Jake looked at the alien representatives, seeing the mix of hope and fear in their faces. What about the Empire's response? Marcus pulled up a holographic display showing the galaxy. Red markers indicated Empire military positions. There were hundreds of them. The Empire is mobilizing. We're tracking fleet movements across dozens of sectors. They're not going to make the same mistake twice. Next time they come at us, it won't be with 300 ships. It'll be with thousands. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the math. Even with allies, even with superior tactics and weapons, Humanity couldn't fight thousands of ships and win. Nicole spoke up. Then we don't fight them all at once. We hit and run, strike their supply lines, disrupt their communications, force them to spread their forces thin trying to defend everything. Kirla nodded eagerly. Yes, the Empire's strength comes from their size, but that is also their weakness. They control so much territory that they cannot defend it all. If multiple species rise up simultaneously in different sectors, the Empire will not be able to respond everywhere at once. Lisa leaned forward, studying the holographic display. We need to share our technology. Teach other species how to build weapons that can penetrate Empire shields. Show them our tactics. Create a network of resistance that can support each other. The Empire will call it terrorism, one of the Earth officials said. They'll say we're encouraging violence and chaos. Jake couldn't help but laugh. They tried to destroy one of our settlements to make us submit. They don't get to complain about violence. This is war. We didn't start it, but we're going to finish it. The meeting continued for hours. Plans were made. Resources were allocated. The alien representatives returned to their people with blueprints for human weapons, tactical manuals, and communication devices that would let them coordinate with Earth and each other. It was the beginning of something larger than any single species. It was the beginning of a rebellion. 3 days later, Jake stood on the bridge of the Resolute as it prepared to leave Earth orbit. The ship had been repaired as much as time allowed. New crew members had been brought aboard to replace those lost in battle. The railguns were loaded, the armor patched, and the engines ready. All systems green, Lisa reported. We're ready for departure. Amy coordinated with the other ships preparing to launch. Earth was sending out a dozen battle groups, each one headed to a different sector where allied species were preparing to strike at the Empire. The Resolute would lead Battle Group Alpha, the largest and most dangerous mission. Danny checked his sensors one last time. No Empire activity in nearby space. Jump route is clear. Captain Victor Kane contacted them from the Defiance, which would be traveling with the Resolute. Ready when you are, Jake. Let's go remind the Empire why they should have left us alone. Jake looked at his crew. They had been through hell at Titan Station, but they were ready to do it again. They understood what was at stake. This wasn't just about humanity anymore. It was about every species that had been conquered, suppressed, and told they had no choice but to submit. All hands, this is Commander Morrison. Jake spoke into the ship-wide communication system. We're about to embark on the most important mission in human history. We're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for everyone who wants to be free. The Empire thinks they own the galaxy. They think no one can stand against them. At Titan Station, we proved them wrong. Now we're going to prove it again and again, until they understand that the age of their dominance is over. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. We're going to face incredible danger. Some of us might not come back, but what we're doing matters. It matters to the 15,000 people we saved at Titan Station. It matters to the billions of humans on Earth who can sleep safely because we're out here protecting them. And it matters to every alien species that's been waiting for someone to show them that resistance is possible. The crew listened in silence, their faces determined. The Empire wanted to make us an example, Jake continued. They wanted to show the galaxy what happens to species who defy them. Instead, we showed the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity. We don't back down. We don't surrender, we fight, and we win. He took a breath. Helm, take us out. Let's go to war. The Resolute's engines ignited, pushing the massive Dreadnought away from Earth. Behind it, 11 other ships followed in formation. They accelerated together, moving faster and faster until they reached the jump point and vanished into faster-than-light travel. Across the galaxy, other human battle groups were doing the same, heading to rendezvous points where alien allies waited. In the Empire's territory, resistance cells prepared to strike. Species that had been conquered generations ago readied weapons they had hidden away. The rebellion was beginning. On the Krell homeworld, the capital of the Galactic Empire, the High Council gathered in emergency session. Reports flooded in from across their territory. Humans were moving. Their allies were mobilizing. The stable order that had existed for 1,000 years was crumbling. The Empire's military commanders argued about how to respond. Some wanted to crush Earth completely, destroy the planet as an example. Others advocated for a more measured approach, trying to isolate humanity diplomatically. A few suggested negotiation, though they were shouted down by the others. In the end, the High Council made their decision. They would assemble the largest fleet in their history. Not 300 ships, not even 1,000. They would gather 5,000 warships from across their territory and send them to Earth. They would eliminate humanity once and for all, and any species that supported them would share their fate. But the Empire made one critical mistake. They assumed this was still their galaxy, that they still controlled everything, that their will was absolute. They didn't understand that something fundamental had changed at Titan Station. For the first time in a millennium, the conquered peoples of the galaxy had hope. They had seen a new species emerge from nowhere and bloody the Empire's nose. They had seen the impossible become possible, and hope once ignited is very difficult to extinguish. Aboard the Resolute, Jake stood at the bridge window and watched the stars streak past as they traveled faster than light. He thought about the battles to come,